Okay, we're broadcasting now. Now let's see if I can get this live on Facebook.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We will be starting in about 7 minutes. So thanks for coming on and coming back and joining us. Getting ready for 4th of July, so all of our animals can freak out. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I noticed a lot of people are buying fireworks for their driveways and stuff.
Yeah, we Americans aren't really good at following rules. That's why half the world won't let us in.
Right. Yeah, they've been shooting off fireworks in this neighborhood for the last 3 weeks or more. But submit, you don't have fireworks, I take it, over there going on.
We do. So I was, when you said Americans aren't good at following rules, I was laughing to myself and saying, you've got an Indian in the room and you're still saying that. That's funny.
But hopefully we're not offending you.
No, I think that was a joke.
Oh, oh okay. A little slow.
Yeah. Right. Let freedom ring.
So yesterday, I tagged you, Lisa and Sam. You can untag yourself if you don't want to clutter your Facebook page. But I did a Facebook.
I would not untag me from your post. I would never untag myself from your post.
Aw. Well, Gary Barnes did a podcast with me.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah. Facebook Live.
Yay.
So.
How did it go?
Good. You know, when you listen to yourself again, you're like, oh, I keep repeating myself. But yeah, we wanted to give it a try, and that was a lot of fun.
What was the topic?
Essentially the same type of thing, how we transform our talent management strategies during this time. And I think I said trash your old talent management strategy multiple times. I probably shouldn't have said that over and over, but no, it's fun. You know, he's a great guy. And it was also, and Julie, he also celebrated his wedding anniversary.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you just celebrated your 22nd year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
So him and his wife celebrated, I think, 46 years.
46 years?
Yeah, I know.
Something to aspire to, Julie. How am I going to get through another 34 years?
Oh, time flies.
It's live on Facebook, Sam.
Oh, good. It's working perfect.
Yeah.
This is great. Hi, Facebook.
Glad we got that to work. So perfect.
Yeah, I think more and more audiences are using Facebook to talk more about business and stuff. I mean, I know it's really meant for family and pictures of your kiddos and your dogs and stuff, but you know, I think it's more and more is the acceptance of talking about these types of topics on Facebook. So
yeah, they're changing things up a lot, so that's good.
Yeah, I heard on the radio this morning, apparently the page has shifted again, so the homepage.
Where is it? Is it on Comp Team? Where is it showing on Facebook?
It should be at Comp Team.
It is on Comp Team. I just logged in using my phone and checked.
Good. Perfect. Can everybody see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, great. Perfect. Found this comic. You see that?
Yes, except I see the poll on top of it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you can exit out of that.
Yeah, you can close that.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I can close that. I didn't know. Okay. I see. I didn't know that was in my control.
That is really funny. I love that. And I think it's only fair that humans should have a go at that thing we put on our animals.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so many of us are used to touching our face so much, just in normal conversation or expressions. It's like, it's hard.
It is hard. I really am trying to work at that, not to do that. And some of my employees actually have face shields now.
Oh yeah.
I prefer the face shield over the mask. That's pretty interesting.
Right. Well, it looks like we have 1 more minute to start here.
Right. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate your participation today. We'll get going here in a few seconds. Well, hello, everyone. We really are excited to have you join us today at our People Strategies Forums and being innovative and progressive in these challenging times. And so we're very excited to kick off another forum here the week before July 4th. And so we are excited to have you. I think we figured this is, last week was the 15th. This might be the 16th forum since we started. So thanks for joining us. So my name is Char Miller. I am a talent management strategist, and I also own a company called Rocky Mountain Health Advocates, and I do career coaching. And then my colleagues here, Lisa Jackson is a culture change strategist with Corporate Culture Pros. And then we have Sam Reeve here, who is around compensation and total reward with CompTeam. So also we have Sumit Singla with us today. And he's been a great co-facilitator with us and founder of Elevant HR Consulting. And we are so happy to have Julie Davis back. Thank you, Julie. She was with us, I think, several weeks ago, and so she's returning. All of everyone's bios and information is found at compteam.net, and also all of our recordings from today's session, as well as all of our prior sessions, are found at compteam.net. So just to get into some logistics today to get started, just want to mention today we're offering a poll. So if you click on that down below, you'll notice that we have some free gifts to offer you and some consultations and assessments to help you out. So please take that poll and we can follow up with you. Also, we just ask that you follow this, share it on your social media sites. Also, all of us linked in with us. We have some great tools, resources, support. And also, I think today we're on Facebook Live, so we're excited to be part of that. So today we are having an agenda. Julie Miller Davis is going to talk about saying yes to the right things in times of uncertainty. And Lisa and team will have a very engaging dialogue about this topic, which I definitely need this as far as being more productive and efficient. I'm going to share my personal story because I am a founder and owner and chief HR officer of my own company. And I'm going to talk about my journey and how the forums have really helped me through navigating these times of challenges. So reopening as a healthy employer. And then we'd like to have a very robust and open discussion with the team. So what we ask you to do is utilize that chat down below. Click down below, you'll notice that we would like you as participants to make comments, share a story, if you have a question, anything you'd like to engage with us on. We are going to be moderating those chats and bringing those up throughout the conversations. And you can also use the Q&A button as well. So thank you so much. And so without further ado, I'd like to kick it off to Julie Miller Davis and Lisa.
All right, here we go.
All right. Am I just starting, or Lisa? Are you?
Go
I didn't
for
know if there
it.
was I didn't know if there was an intro or not.
Nope, dive straight in.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to say yes to that.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Really, really appreciate you being here. And I just would like to start this off by having you think about, and you can raise your hands or whatever you want to do, but I would like you to think about how many mornings you wake up and you have all these things that you'd like to get done, and you have the best of intentions. And by the end of the day, you wonder what happened in the day that caused you to basically get none of your intentions done. So we find that we have the best laid plans, and we just can't seem to get anything done because we're putting out fires all day long is what it starts to feel like. Especially, I think as companies are opening back up, there's a lot of unexpected things that are happening, things that you're doing to re-engage, or if you're part at home, part at the office, or if you're all at home still, all kinds of things come up. And I think we talked about this a little bit the last time I was on, how it's just really difficult to get intentional about things when everything is so up in the air and out of your control, seemingly out of your control. And so what I'd like to touch on is thinking about what happens with that. We have an ongoing list, and then we get amendments to our list, and then we get fires that we put out that don't even get put on the list. And it seems like we're never getting anything done that we intended to get done. And so until we get really intentional about what we're doing, our intentions are no good at all, until we start getting really and truly intentional about that.
That's a really interesting distinction between being intentional versus having intentions. I hadn't really ever thought about it that way before.
Yeah, it's a whole different, it's something that we intend to do. If we don't follow through with it, there is that saying about the road to HE double hockey sticks is paved with good intentions, right? So we better get intentional about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and what those important things are that we should be spending our time on, is really what it comes down to. And so today what I wanted to do was kind of go through a foundational principle that I use to help people prioritize and start saying yes to the right things. Because what is happening is that we're more and more saying yes to everything and not being discerning, because we are just treating, I guess we could change the slide, because we have Sam, and I just talked about that, like we're juggling all the things, we're putting out fires, all these things are coming our way that are unexpected. And if you think about a juggler, is where, go to that slide, the yes slide. All things are not equally important, and that's what's happening. As we are juggling all these things and more balls are being thrown at us, we're treating them all equally. We're treating them all equally important, and the truth is that they're not. Some things are more important than others. Some things are going to drive your business, drive your work, drive your goals more than others. But what we're doing is saying yes to every single thing that's coming our way, and we're not discerning when we can do it. We're not putting things in different slots in our calendar. We're just doing them as they come up without really any thought about it. And so in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Covey talks about willpower versus won't power. And what he means by that is the willpower to say yes to the right things, and the won't power to say no to things that we need to say no to. And he also talks about the fact that we have a finite amount of willpower every day. And so we need to tackle bigger things in the beginning of the day, and the not so big, not so much brain power things towards the end of the day, because we don't have as much brain power. We don't have as much willpower to work through and solve problems later in the day as we do at the beginning of the day.
I was wondering about that. That's a timing thing, so it's not maybe yes versus no. Sometimes for me, it's not now. And I don't know about whether that enters into this later, but I do wonder about that. Sometimes I just think if I don't, I can just do it now, and it'll just get it out of the way, rather than looking at a way to like just say, hey, let's leave those tasks for the end of the day when I'm already brain dead and they could just wait. Does that kind of what you're speaking
Yes.
to there. Yeah.
I'm really glad you talked about that you asked that, Lisa, for clarification with this willpower piece. Is we don't necessarily have to say no to them forever. And I rarely say that you should say no to things on your list forever. We're going to talk about the system in a minute, the foundational system that I have in place that I teach for prioritizing. But yeah, there's things that what we do is we interrupt ourselves, right? We are hijacking our own time by going, oh, I'm just going to do that real quick. I'm just going to answer that email real quick because it'll only take a second. I'll do that because it'll only take a second. Oh, I should just do this because it's not going to take much time. It's just quick. And well, all those quick things are taking up all of our time. So we just hijacked our own time. And instead, what I recommend is keeping a running list on the side of your desk. When those things pop in your head, those little things that you need to take care of that aren't emergencies or urgencies, and they can be done later, do those when you want to take a nap. Do those when you don't have all the energy of the day and your brain isn't firing on all cylinders. They don't take a lot of brain. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to return that email. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to, do a lot of those little things that only take a second on your list. So why not wait until 2 or 3 o'clock or later to do those, and then knock off all those little things that will only take a second? Because if we're doing that in the morning, we're wasting really good brain power.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I think, Julie, for me, I do actually have this experience that, of satisfaction by knocking off those 10 things, and sort of gives me that energy. And so I think that's part of, as I was thinking in my mind, why do I do that when I know that it might, be a better time in that lull of the afternoon energy? But there's this satisfaction with being able to check a bunch of things off the list, so rather than tackle that procrastination project that I know I really need to be doing, but it's a little bigger and takes more brain power.
You just hit the nail on the head, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's that piece that you've been procrastinating.
Yeah.
So if we think about this, we'll never get to the project that we're procrastinating on if we're going to do all those little things that make you have this burst of satisfaction in the morning, because then we used all our energy, and then the afternoon comes and we're like, yeah, I just really don't feel like doing that. I don't have the energy for that. It's not really something I can get to today. I don't have the time for that. And so then we just keep putting it off. And the truth is this, those, a lot of times, those things, those big things are those projects and those classes, those other things that we want to do that are going to drive the needle forward for our businesses if we're entrepreneurs, or for our careers if we're in the world of having an employer. We are a lot less likely to procrastinate if we make it part of our calendar in the morning. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, which is that when we decide what I'm going to talk about just how to prioritize it and how to calendar it. So
cool. My calendar should be my boss.
Yeah, well, no, it should not. You should be the boss of your calendar. but the thing is that we have to do is actually pay attention to our calendar, because we'll go, oh yeah, I was going to work on that. It's on my calendar, but I think I'd rather go do this instead, or work on that instead. And so here's the thing too, crossing off those little things first, doing all those things, it's all about habits. It's all about habits that we have. And it's not easy to reset a habit. It's not easy to create a new habit. And in my business, JMD Productivity Training, that is the foundation of what I do, is I help business owners reset their habits and patterns so that they start getting the right things done, so that they start focusing on the things that will move the needle forward, instead of feeling like they're in this constant spin cycle of just trying to keep their head above water and get these things done as they're coming up, and then they're never getting to the big things. And so it's a habit that we have of, I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm just going to do this real quick. Someone pops their head in their office and goes, do you have a quick second? You're like, sure, I have a quick second.
Yeah.
We hijack our own time, and we also allow others to hijack our time. We allow our phone to hijack our time. So there's a lot of things that we are doing that are keeping us from reaching the levels of excellence that we want to reach. And especially now, I think there's just so many distractions. Char was talking a little bit earlier before we even launched or before, when we came on a little bit earlier before 10, that it was just my wedding anniversary. And let me tell you, both my husband and I forgot that it was our anniversary. Neither of us remembered. There was a wedding going on as I was playing tennis that morning, right next to the courts. And I had nothing triggered until Facebook told me that it was like a memory, that it my anniversary from 7 years ago. And so I told my husband, I'm like, why? I go, are we in trouble that neither of us remembered our anniversary? And he goes, Julie, nothing is normal. He's like, we're doing our taxes in July. He goes, what makes us think that we'll remember anything that's, normally normal? And so I think that's where we are in business too. And in some ways is that we already had all this busyness going on. We already had all these lists and things going on. And now we've got all the stress and the pressure of the unknown, and things are changing every day of what we can do, what we should do, what restrictions are on us and where we can be. And so we've got all this other gook in our brains. And so how can we make it easier for ourselves to filter out and in what needs to be filtered?
That is the question that has been rolling through my mind for the last few minutes, that I've tried so many different ways, to do this. And I wonder if some of what happens is to find out kind of like there's different little tricks that each person can adapt more easily versus some personalities have a harder time with that. So would love to hear, your ideas on that. Cause I think for me, I'm one of those people that doesn't like to be in the same routine every day.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to have variety in order to stay challenged or to stay engaged or to stay motivated.
Yeah. So, and you don't have, you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be a mundane routine. It can be about just what types of things you do at certain times of the day or on certain days of the week. It doesn't even have to be every day. And so, what I found is that we're so busy trying to serve others. We're so busy trying to make all the business run. We're trying to take on everything, that we are not taking care of ourselves at all. I had a client who actually, when she came to me a few years ago, she was working 7 days a week. She runs a marketing firm, and she was never working on her own business. She was simply working on stuff for clients, and her clients, because she runs websites and things, they were constantly having these emergencies, and she was not running them and saying, look, it's going to take, you need to give me this long to get back to you. You need to give me this long to do this project. She would just take them on and do them. And within like a couple of weeks of putting in this system, she was down to working 5 days a week. And within a couple of months, she was down to working on their stuff 3 days a week and her stuff to grow her company 2 days a week.
Wow.
And what happened through COVID with her was really interesting, because she runs social media and she runs websites, and all of a sudden everyone was more online than they've ever been. She was getting like fired with requests, and we need to change up our social, and we need to change up our website, and we need a website, and all these things started happening. And she had these foundational things in place. We've been working together for quite a while. That yes, it got super busy, but she's become such a good delegator, and she has built her team that she was not taking on all of that. She was really discriminating. What was she going to hand off? What was she able to do? What was the timeline for these people as quickly as she could, because it was such a unprecedented, unexpected thing that happened. However, she also, this is the other thing, Lisa, is that sometimes we do get super busy, and we just have to know for ourselves that it's not forever. Like I'm going to be hot on the trail of stuff for about 3 weeks now, and then I can, but I'm keeping control throughout that, knowing that it's going to get back to normal, some semblance of normal. And the way that we've always done it isn't necessarily the way we can keep doing it. So she had to rearrange her schedule and rework some things that we had already worked on. So what I found is that when people are trying to take it all on and doing all of it, they think that they can't say no to people or to things that come their way, because they think that it will somehow slow down their growth. And the truth is, if we control that, if we start deciding what we're saying yes to, what we're saying no to, or deciding when we will do something instead of doing it right now, our growth will actually be faster.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Well, I'm really eager. There's a lot of comments in the chat about this, really eager to hear what you do to, what the system is that allows you to be able to say no or not.
Sam, will you Sam, will you go to the next slide? It's really simple, you guys, and it's not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. It's the 3D system, and it's called, the 3 Ds are do it, delegate it, dump it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can look at your to-do list each day, and I'm going to go through each of these because it's not as simple as it sounds, but it's pretty simple. You will start really taking control of your list, of your tasks, of the things that you have to do in a day. And so we'll start with just do it. And this is where we have to get really honest about things. The do it is something that only you can do. And this is where we're like, yeah, somebody else could do this, but it'll just take a quick sec, or they won't do it as well as I can. And Sam and I were just talking, and we were all talking before this began, that there are all kinds of studies and articles out there that if someone can do it 70 to 80% as well as you, there it is, the 70% rule. If somebody can do this 70 to 80% as well as you, perfection is kind of the death of some of us, right? So if they can do it as 70% as well as you can, nobody's going to know that it's not 100. And so let someone do the work if they can do it 70% as well as you.
That's a good tip, because I have a lot of trouble with that one where I want things a certain way. And I've had to ask myself, like, okay, well, if this goes out with typos on it, that's not okay.
That's not okay.
But if the photo isn't exactly the one I would use, just let it go. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. We have to decide what we can let go and what we need to hold on to. And so you have to get really honest. Is this really something that only I can do? And it's a hard question to answer because we all believe that it's something only I can do.
Yeah.
So, and I struggle with this still, because I'll do something and I'll put it together and my assistant will call me and she'll see it and she'll be like, why did you do that? And I'm like, because it was just on, right there, and I just did it. And so it would have taken less of my time to call her and tell her to do it.
And
right?
Isn't that the excuse we use all the time? I know I use that one all the time. I'm like, it's so much faster for me to just go do it than the whole idea of training somebody to do it is overwhelming worsely.
And so, and I'll talk about that in the delegate section for sure. I will tackle that. So when you're deciding on the things that you will do, the first question is this something only I can do? The second question is this thing that I'm choosing to do something that's going to move me significantly towards my goal, or move the needle significantly forward? Is it something I can be intentional about that's moving me intentionally forward? So that's the second question. And the third question is this something that's going to make me know that I accomplished something at the end of the day? Because a lot of times we get to the end of the day and we're like, oh my gosh, I was so busy and I have no idea what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm so busy, I have no idea what I did. Well, then you didn't do the things that made you know that you accomplished something. You didn't focus on the things that were going to move you forward. And you just did the things that you were putting out the fires, or you were doing the easy things, but they weren't necessarily the important things. Easy and important aren't always matched. You treated them all equally, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up one thing that Katie mentioned in the chat, the connection between getting things done and self-esteem or a motivation. I know that I had a client that was faced by this. They were a software development company, and they kept on waiting to get the new release perfect before they would send it out. And they were waiting, and every time they got close, something new would change, and they wanted to go back and redesign it so they could release. And the workforce was just got completely demotivated. I mean, they never saw their work come to fruition, or anything get released. Do you see a lot of this in your practice, Julie?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of the mindset work, but I do have a lot of that perfection part. And so we work a lot on how do we let go of that perfection, because, you can be paralyzed by perfection, right? It's paralysis by analysis. And we continually look at things and look at things and look at things. And if you think about artists and authors, they never believe their work of art is done. They never believe that their book is done, but at some point they have to release it. At some point it has to go to press, or at some point it has to be released to the public. And so we talk a lot about there's nothing that can't be tweaked. There's nothing that we can't always, like I have I have 2 courses that I have built and that I teach. And if I had waited to release them till they were perfect, they would never be released. But you just have to be able to adjust and shift and tweak things. And that's a lot of what I teach. And so, yes, Sam, I do find a lot of people are paralyzed by perfection. And we just work on how do you take control of the things that you can take control of and move. You have to take action, or it's that perfect inaction, right? Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
It sounds really, Julie, that one sounds, I just want to speak to this. And Katie, I'd love to hear, her take on this too. For me, what she's saying about the self-esteem, and it kind of lowers our sense of value or self-esteem when we procrastinate. And what I find is that line between the procrastination and perfection, there is real truth to the fact that if I can just remind myself that good is the enemy of of whatever that saying is about how I put things off because I want them to be really good. And the not good enough mantra is always in my mind. But she's right. My self-esteem actually goes up when I just decide to finish it and put it forth, even though it's not perfect.
Because you're taking action and you're being visible and things are moving. Right. Instead of being mired in the what ifs, the what if that take us down and down and down and down all those notches.
Yes.
If we can, and so the course I just started actually the last week is all about moving into action, moving from stuck into action. And stuck can mean multiple things, but a lot of it sometimes is just stuck. It's stuck in our mind. It's stuck because we think it's not good enough, but nobody knows it's not good enough. Nobody knows it's not exactly our vision except us. And so, if you go deliver a speech or a talk, nobody knows that you missed a whole point that you meant to say except for you. Like nobody knows. And so it's true. I had a client who she's a massage therapist, and she wants to work on personal injury. And so she had created years ago this like a prescription tablet where the doctor could let her know what they have diagnosed. And she, for years, was holding on to this thing. And last December, she was in my program, and it was the thing that she worked on in the course that I'm running right now. And she got that thing to print and sent it out. And her business has like almost doubled in the personal injury field because she did that. And she's like, so excited. And she's like, oh, I repeated this thing and it wasn't I'm like, so what? The next printing will be better, will be different. Like you can fix it the next time. Nobody cares. Nobody's noticing, you know? So just that very thing exploded her business and made her like move into something that she's been wanting to do for so long. And the wishing and the wanting is what keeps us from always picking the things and stopping the procrastination and actually doing the things.
So I wanted to bring this up as more from a relevancy of the current state of time. In my thought, we were talking a few weeks ago about the social unrest and the angst going on around tension, racial tensions, et cetera. And we've talked about examples where leaders procrastinate doing those very vital and important things right now around communication, you know, face-to-face meetings, listening. And I think what we're talking about is there's somewhat of a fear that executive leaders are going to do the wrong thing. They're going to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And procrastinating on things that are extremely vital right now. So what are your thoughts about that, Julie?
I think that's all about asking questions, Char. If we're afraid we're going to say the wrong thing, then why wouldn't we ask questions instead of just saying things? Start asking questions and opening up a dialogue so that we're more informed in order to lead in the way that needs to. I think it matters more how we lead than necessarily, you know, the wrong thing coming out of our mouth. And so I think that it's so important for us to ask questions as leaders and assume that the people that we're leading and other people will answer them and let us know what are the right things to say, what is the right way to go, and what are you needing? Because we also can't assume that we know what people need from us as leaders unless we ask the questions. So that's kind of where that falls for me. And I hope that speaks to some of you that are here today.
Definitely. These are sensitive topics, and we've seen executive leaders make mistakes in this area, and the more they put off these very vital things, you just need to get out there.
yeah, you have to lead through it, and you can't keep brushing it under the rug, because it will come out eventually, one way or another. And if you can make it a conversation, and if you can ask questions,
I'm putting this on my camera.
Actually lead it. Oh, as you can actually lead, then that's better than saying nothing. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Takes courage.
Yeah. And I know that I'm really about out of time here, but we talked a little bit about delegating, and if you can think about that 70% rule, if you can think about, can you delegate something where you can delegate, we were talking about this earlier, if you can delegate 85 to 90% of a task and you finish it that way, because I think the hard thing is we feel like no one can do it as well as we can. And so if we can find a way for someone to do like 85 to 90% of a task, and then we take over the last 10 to 15%, how much time did that save us? And we still have our finger in the pie. We still have our finger on the pulse, whatever you want to say, right? The other thing is that the tough part about delegating is that we don't know how to delegate. We don't know how to train someone to do what we're doing. And so if we can find, and that's a lot of what I do, and it's a lot to go into now. I have a whole training on delegation, but also it's getting it out of our head and into someone else's hands is where the power of delegation lies. And that's another conversation that we might have another day on the People's Forum. But there were some other things. Sam, is there other stuff that you wanted to put up in the conversation about delegation at all?
Well, there's this piece here. I think that this was an article that came out in Inc. about the importance of delegating. You know, in companies that have delegated, they've been able to grow their business by more than 20% by just delegating 10% of the workload to somebody else. I mean, that's a big thing that I've realized with a lot of the management teams that I've worked with is they really have a problem letting go, especially as a company is growing quickly and growing fast. I mean, when as a small startup where leadership is used to wearing so many hats,
Yeah.
And then as they grow, those leaders can actually become problems and get in the way of that growth because they're not they're micromanaging. And
Yes.
so delegation is critical. I mean, I mean, it's happened in some big companies too. I think that I think Apple went through that phase as well with jobs early on, and that was an issue for them. So yeah, it's really a problem.
Here's the interesting thing is that, yeah, if you can delegate 10% of your workload to someone else, that's 10% other stuff that you can do to actually grow your company and lead, and energy that you're spending elsewhere. When I first start interviewing people to be potential clients of mine, one of the big questions I ask them is how many hours a week or a day do they feel like they're losing to doing things that they shouldn't necessarily be doing? And it comes down to 10 or more hours a week that they're spending on putting fires out or doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And then we kind of try to monetize that. Like, so what does that, what if you had that 10 hours a week? What if you had that 40 to 50 to 60 hours a month to spend on growing your business, on meeting the potential clients, on selling, or whatever your job might even not be the sales. It might be meeting the people and then you send them to your sales, right? How much money does that translate to? And it's tens of thousands of dollars a month, right?
Yeah, that's an exercise that I have a coach, a consulting coach I work with, and his name's Michael Zapersky. He's really good. But anyway, the one thing that he had me do is write down all the things I spend time doing during the day. You know, just tracking it all, right? And you know, email to on the phone and different things like that. And then when I had that list going, then it was okay. Now put a price tag to each one of those things as far as if you could get somebody else to do it, how much would it cost you to have somebody else doing? And and it was really revealing. I mean, I was wasting, you know, thousands of dollars a day in my time by not delegating certain things that should have been done. So
it's crazy, and not even the cost always monetarily, but what is the cost? So at some point, the stuff that you're supposed to do has to get done for your company, right? And so then you're digging into family time, and you're digging into weekends, you're digging in, and you're exhausting yourself. And there's a cost beyond monetary investment or monetary.
Absolutely. And during these times, I mean, we've all been faced with this calamity, and it's bringing the importance of how much time that we need to spend. We should be thinking about our families. We should be thinking about the balance in our lives. And a lot of people are dealing with burnout right now. That's a big topic that's on the internet, and you'll see a lot of companies talking about that. And that's really as a consequence of being faced with a new situation and new challenges, and not going through the process of how do I survive in this environment? How do I think about how am I doing my work and delegating those important tasks once again to the people that are important to get those things done right and effectively.
Yeah, and I think it's coming back to what you just said. It's not surviving. It's how do I reposition and restructure and rethink and shift things so that I can thrive in what's happening and not just survive. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to share one other thing is, you know, while we're on the topic of reopening, I just shared this PDF that came out from Accenture that had some good stuff on it. I'm going to share my screen really quick to show some of this document, and hopefully you guys can see this. But we were talking about prioritizing things earlier, you know, as far as, you know, what are the things, if we're going to reopen, you know, what should leaders be thinking about as they're prioritizing these tasks? And I thought this was really helpful. Number one, put people first. And then and two, think about that safety, design those spaces that work. And then we talked about this before. Number three, solve in phases. I mean, this is the imperfect action that we're talking about, you know, making sure that hey, let's take action, let's get it as right as we can. Let's communicate effectively to everybody, saying that we're gonna roll with the punches and figure this out as we go, and solve it as you go. The next thing is very important, and this is something that I talk to my clients about, is commit to an elastic cost structure. And in my work, I deal a lot with employee pay. This is about, bringing in those pay structures that are going to allow more flexibility. So if you go through a hard time, you're not doing layoffs, you're maybe cutting back the bonus or something like that. That's going to be more sustainable going forward. But there's a lot of other cost structures that can be looked at as being more flexible. That's the agile movement that's going on right now. And the next is getting ready, and getting ready for the future. We got to re-strategize how we're doing business. And so I think this was a really powerful list.
I love that, and I love the word agile that you used. I think that's a great word rather than shift or tweak. I like the word agile.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like the thing is that there's so many things that are coming at us nowadays. I mean, we had the pandemic, and then we had the riots and the racial unrest, and then now they're talking about a new flu that's being brewing. It's like we just need, these things are going to continue to come at us as a society, and
right.
And the successful businesses of the future are those are going to be resilient and agile, and
right.
and putting processes in place to survive.
Because there's always going to be something. We happen to have a few years there that were pretty awesome and pretty, unbumpy. And so, but there really is always going to be something. And if people were to look really closely at the last few years, there were things that just was easier to navigate than this has been. But those who are resilient, those who are agile, those who are able to really adjust quickly and think outside the box are the ones who are going to survive it and thrive even beyond it. So with this I know I need to wrap things up, but with this prioritizing, I want to go back to something that Lisa talked about briefly. And I want to talk about when you have these do-its, to make sure that you are putting them on your calendar. When are you going to do it? So if you even decided like 3 things that I want to do today, these are the 3 things that are going to move the needle forward. What time are you going to do them? What time? When are you going to do them? Because then we're moving from intentions to intentional, right? I have the intention to do these 3 things today. But to make it intentional, I'm going to do them at 10 o'clock and 11:30 and 2, or whatever it is. And so that calendar piece is really, really important, that you are controlling it and that you're looking at the calendar and opening it up when you're looking at your list and deciding on. And I don't believe that you should do more than 3. There should be more than 3 do-its from your list beyond what's already on your calendar. I don't think it's possible. I think then you just let yourself down and you feel terrible. So that goes back to the self-esteem part. So what are the 3 big things? I call them the big 3. What are the 3 big things that you can do today? And when are you going to do them? And if you get to the dump it, some of those need to be deleted. We could have it at a 4th D. But some of the dump it's like what has been on your list ongoing for months or weeks or days or whatever it might be. And then just take it off your list and put it on a date. Like if it doesn't need to be done now, but you don't want to forget about it, why don't you put it on September, what's today? September 1st. I'm just going to do this on September 1st at 9:30 in the morning. And now it's off your list and it's on your calendar. So that's a way to dump it without stressing out that I'm telling you to delete it. Although some things probably need to be deleted. But if it's been on there running, you either need to put it on your calendar or you need to delegate it or you need to move it to the big 3. Like you just need to make some decisions around these things so that you don't have this thing that's been niggling at you and bothering you and on your list for goodness knows how long.
Yeah, an interesting, real quick story here. I mean, that was I went into a company and I was helping them streamline their compensation processes, and I was talking to their head of HR, and we were talking about their service delivery model, how they deliver things to the business and create value for their process. And so we got into just the mundane things of doing the reporting. So, my team are spending hours and hours doing reporting for the business. And I go, okay, well, let's take a look at that. So I met with one of their comp analysts and I say, okay, So tell me the reports you do. Well, I do this one and this one and this one. And again, who do you send them to? I send them to this guy, that person, you know, Sally, Julie, all this kind of stuff. And then okay, well, let's see how they are actually using the report. And so we contacted one of their colleagues and we're saying, oh, well, so we're just checking to see how you use the report, if it's working out for you, if you'd like to see any changes. And they're going, what report? I don't even use this. I mean, it's like I see it come into my email box once a month, and I figure it's just statusing, but I don't even use that report. It's like, well, you know, that's efficiency right there. So it's a lot of companies, they just get in this habit of doing things over and over again, and they never go and they talk to their customers or their clients, internal or external, to figure out if it's of value.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, totally need to do that, because people are spending a lot of time on things that aren't necessary or being used at all. Yeah. So yeah. Do you want me to just wrap it up with what I've got for everybody, or do we have other questions?
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us about your, I know that you have a free offering you want to provide our listeners.
I do. So what I've got for you guys is it's not going to look quite like this. This is actually one that I sell, is a tear off sheet. But what you have got is I'm giving you a downloadable version of this that you can use in perpetuity, forever and ever. It's yours for free, and you can just download it on your computer and print it out every day or every week and use it. And it's my daily productivity planner. I'm going to actually put the link in the chat for you.
I was just going to ask for that.
Yeah. Hopefully it's still the link. It is. So the live link is there. And so what you've got is a place to brain dump, to put your brainstorm. You've got a place to put what are your non-negotiables for the day, which are the things that are already on your calendar that you know you need to do, that you can't, that aren't movable, like meetings and things like that. And then you've got your big three. And then I always I don't put gratitude, but I put awesome stuff, because my word is awesome. So what awesome things happen. And with this, I'm going to give you some reminders, like, have you used it? How's it going? And what I'd like to do is also follow it up with an audio recording that I have of 5 tips of how to save you hours in your week. So they will also get that, but this is where you need to start so that you can get the other.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that if everyone wants to pull up that poll again, and if they want to schedule some time with Julie and how to use these assets, you can go ahead and do that, and we'll make sure that happens for you.
And you know what? I've known Julie a very long time. And I took Julie's course, I think in 2015. Been a while.
You took a one-day workshop with me.
Yeah. And this is an awesome gift. So I think about you a lot, because I'm like, what would Julie do to be more productive?
What would Julie do?
Oh, I better be more productive. I do. I think about it. So these are great tools. So thank you for sharing those with us, Julie.
Thanks, Char.
So yeah, just it'll be in the chat, and then it'll also be in the recording afterwards. So great. Well, now we're going to transition and talk about something on a personal note. As I've mentioned, I am a company owner, and I own a company called Rocky Mountain Health Advocates. And what I thought we'd do today is something unique, something a little bit different, because we have created just volumes and volumes and hours, at least maybe 25 hours worth of people strategy experts and all types of support that are at your fingertips. So what I'm going to do is share my personal story, and I'm going to share my screen. And I think the reason why I wanted to share my story is, as a business owners and leaders, I think I am a microcosm of what's been a challenge as a business owner. And I assume many other business leaders and entrepreneurs are facing some similar challenges. So we're going to walk through that. So I'm going to share my screen here. And so what I'm pulling up here is, this is our ComTeam website. And this is something that I just wanted to go back and talk about what I did when I first started with Sam. So the story is, Sam and I and several of our team members were in a state of offering a workshop, speaking of workshops, around the end of March. And what happened was obviously the epidemic and everything started. And ultimately our keynote speaker, Andre Bloom, was from Europe, the Netherlands, right? Right, Sam?
That's
and
right. Yeah.
we needed to cancel that. So Sam and I were talking and brainstorming, and we decided, you know what? Let's do something around HR forums for businesses and owners to provide them value and services and support during this time. And so it's been quite a journey, right, Sam?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's an important point, like you mentioned, Char. I mean, the big initiative is boy, we were just feeling the pain. I mean, it was not only disrupting our businesses, but businesses of our clients and prospects out there and so forth. And we just started thinking, you know, what can we do to you know, make this better? What can we do to give back, get people on their feet? And I would challenge you as your business is out there as well. I mean, you know, what are some things that you can do to help your clients, your customers, and just society as a whole get back on their feet? What do we need to rethink? So this is pretty important.
Right. So I apologize, I'm toggling around a bit here. I just wanted to start. Where I'm at is I'm on compteam.net. And the beauty of this is that we have all of our prior recordings and presentations here. So let's start with my story. It was a situation where it was actually March 22nd that we had a Rocky Mountain Health Advocates. And by the way, we were going through a rebranding and opening up new locations in Montana. We had a not very good meeting on March 22nd where we were in a state of a bit of a panic. Several of our leaders started saying, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to close down. Our malls are gonna close down. By the way, we're in Colorado Mills and we're in Aurora, and we were just opening Flatirons. These are malls. And we were rapidly making decisions like, oh my gosh, we need to lay ourselves off because we aren't gonna be able to pay ourselves. And it was, my director and I literally were in tears on the phone. We were like, what are we gonna do? So that's why I absolutely love CommTeam and working with Sam and all of my colleagues, because from a mental state, these forums is something that I leveraged in my own mental state and my mindfulness of how to deal with this period. And so you'll see, this was our first forum. We had a great speaker, Aaron Greilich, who talked about the neurosciences of what's happening with the stress. And I was like, yeah, that is what's happening. I can't panic here. I have to really think about how I'm managing through these times. And as you see there, one of my topics is relative to leading with compassion, dignity, and respect. So that's basically my motto. And I had one of these deluxe, being a talent management consultant strategist, I had actually a dashboard. I had, how many people that we're hiring, how are we paying our employees, what's our workforce planning strategy? And I had to be careful not to overwhelm my people with all this HR stuff. But at that moment, I realized that we were not leading with compassion, dignity, and respect. So I actually whipped together in one day my presentation and started openly talking about it, like from the heart, and realizing that my core values were so important right now. And pretty much, I've just disregarded that dashboard, right? Don't you agree, Sam? There's a lot of companies that have a talent strategy.
Yeah, that's right. And to what you mentioned, I mean, that was the big thing with leaders when they were faced with this pandemic is the fear and the uncertainty and the disruption in the business. It caused this reaction was sometimes not positive. They lashed out at the workforce, they lashed out at their team members, and so forth. And this can happen with the get back to work scenario as well, as we are faced with clients or customers in our businesses that are reacting to the same fear. How come you're not wearing a mask? How come why aren't you concerned about my personal freedom? And back and forth. Everybody has a different perspective of what's going on. This is causing a lot of problems in society right now, and those are our customers, right? In a lot of cases. So that can cause a lot of stress and across the leadership team, and we need to remember, okay, let's focus on why we're here and what we're doing, and not get distracted by those stressful moments.
Right.
So Aaron really helped us think about that. That was great.
She set the stage, and there were some things, even as an HR person, you know, there's all these new laws, there's leave policies, there's so much that changes all the time, which, by the way, genetics testing changes all the time too. So I had to realize, which is my company, but I had to realize I need to get up to speed. So this forum was outstanding, and I'm just going to kind of calmly move to the next couple of weeks so we can kind of walk through the journey of things that I was learning for my company. And I would suggest you, as a business leader or an HR leader or entrepreneur, I suggest you go back and look at some of these recordings and some of these PowerPoints, because it was extremely valuable for me. For example, thinking about my crisis communication, the March 22nd was horrible. And quite candidly, it kind of caused my executive leadership team to not even want to communicate very well. I had to really think about, well, here I am, I've actually taught how to have communication and crucial conversations, but thinking about how are we going to manage this friction during this time. Joanna Brown talked about that. Also thinking about, you know, leaves. So you'll see here, Amy Hartman was awesome to talk about some of the employment law aspects, in addition to some of the aspects of laying people off and furloughing. So we were too quick to say we we're going to lay everyone off. We didn't really quite understand the opportunity for the Personal Pay Protection Program, PPP. We had a lot to learn, and we were starting to go into complete confusion, even to the point where we were trying to get the loan, and many of you might relate with this, or grant, I guess it's not a loan. It was just too cumbersome, to the point where the bank had to shut down the entire application process, and then we almost missed the deadline. Luckily, we were able to get that and help save some of our pay. What was interesting even today is that we were paying people on the PPP, but they were taking advantage of getting paid, but then they went like missing. It was kind of an interesting thing, but at the same time, we needed to cover our, you know, our payroll, and because that's how we qualify. So also, I love here, you may want to look at April 8th, Laurel Davies did an awesome job relative to the business continuity planning for a pandemic. And the core of our business was genetic testing. And I think at that point, I realized, wow, we were a bit blindsided, or just didn't have the mindset that we really needed to have some opportunities that were not just face-to-face in a mall. Because we needed to accept the reality that virtual opportunity is going to be huge, particularly if the malls close down again. And look, guess what we're hearing right now? That's very likely. So Laurel did a beautiful job and offers a free gift. Actually, most of everybody here is offering a free gift. If you go back and listen, you can see that. And she had a great tool. Also, that's when Lisa got involved with us. So talking about cultural agility. See, Julie, there's your word, agility. Cultural agility was so vital, and so that's when Lisa joined us. Just not to make you dizzy, I'm just going to move ahead. We then had to talk about our strategy during this time of change. Look at things like our health benefits, which, by the way, my company added health benefits like 2 months before. We just got to that point, but we realized, how are we going to afford this as a company? And I know, Sam, you appreciate this from a total rewards and compensation aspect. We started having to evaluate if there are other types of health coverage that might not be as expensive. And we partnered here with Kristen and Juliet with Fall River's employee benefits and started really evaluating, you know, our actual health coverage. Any comments on that, Sam, about what companies are needing to do right now around pay and benefits?
One of the big outputs that we got out of that presentation is that because of a lot of insurance companies before the pandemic, of course, they didn't expect anything like this to come down the pipeline. I mean, and so what happened is now that the cost of benefits didn't factor this in. So there could be some disruption in the market, some cost changes as a result of what went on this year. So if you're a company that's overlooking your benefit program, make sure that you're talking to and preparing. You're talking to your benefit brokers. You're talking to experts like Kristen and Juliet here, to understand how you prepare and plan for next year's cost increases if there are going to be some in some areas.
Right. And so this was very timely. I mean, just as a live experience of evaluating these things and tapping in, and these individuals here, these prior presenters are willing to talk, give you some gift of their time if you'd like to reach out to them. And then guess what? We started thinking about taxes, and what is this? April 15th, it's tax day. Well, we realized, luckily, my business partner, Bruce, pays more attention to that kind of financial stuff than I do. But luckily we were able to extend, you know, as we all know, like Julie mentioned, extend that tax. But we need to really think about the tax credits. So that's a very helpful presentation. So this was essentially the end of our HR Forum series, which was about 4 series. So just to clarify, we then started pivoting and changing what we were really talking about to now more of a people strategy kind of concept, right? So let's see, I think I go here, right, Sam? Yep. So again, there's going to be 2 different types of forums. Again, I highly encourage you to go back and take a look at that. I'm gonna go all the way down here to the end so I can just highlight a few more things here from prior. Let's see here. So then we were talking more about, oh my gosh, and it's interesting because I think the timeline was before some of the racial unrest started, right? I mean, I know we've always had that as an issue, but we were talking about diversity and inclusion and equity during times of crisis. So it's interesting how this has kind of transformed in the last several weeks. And then I realized, you know, wow, I really need to think about this as far as my team. And then also really thinking about how I'm going to recover my business and hire new employees and really think about this whole mindfulness aspect. So that was incredibly helpful. Again, Amy had some great legal updates and recovery pieces. So that was a very great thing. Then
one more thing just on that. I mean, when we're talking about diversity and so forth, another piece that was quite important is the remote work environment. And so a lot of the concern is that, you know, all leadership was quite used to having a cohesive workplace or a workplace that can control the environment. Well, as people started working in their homes, the environments were very diverse in that aspect as well. So some people didn't have a place to do in their work, a quiet place for their work. They didn't have a home office. They were doing things in the living room or on their kitchen table, and of course they had the dual responsibility of helping their children with their education and childcare, and all of those things that they were balancing. And it was quite different by each individual. So it was important for leadership to rethink, you know, these different environments and diversity, how it was these diverse remote environments and how they were going to accommodate with that. So that was a big piece of that.
Yeah. And it was great having Julie on at that time because, and by the way, I just want to mention, Julie, you talked about getting unstuck in times of epidemic recovery, and you had another gift that you had on that presentation. Am I understanding that is still available, right? Julie, did you want to quickly mention what that was?
Yep, that gift is a 3-part video series and a infographic on how to stay focused, and
right.
Especially during unexpected times. And it's still live. The link is still live. I can put it in the chat, but it's still a free gift that's out there for everyone as well.
Right. Thank you for that offer. It's such a great value to our leaders. And so, you know, I know Lisa and Linda spoke a lot about creating opportunity and renewal out of chaos. And I love what Lisa talked about. She talked about it's almost like a forest burning down. It's like, you know, I had to think of my business like this because quite candidly, I was like, I'm not sure we're going to be able to reopen. I don't know if our business model is going to sustain. And I really had this mental aspect of watching this or facilitating this forum really helped me think about that I am creating opportunity of growth and renewal. And so what I was doing during that time as I was stuck in this purple office, and then for a while, by the way, Sam, my daughter had to move home. And then her boyfriend was even displaced. So how do you handle that? So I had to move my office down to the living room. I got my purple office back now. But anyway, I had to remember that we are now going to create opportunity for renewal. So we really started having to explore other types of products, such as affordable healthcare was one. We had to start looking at health advocacy related products, and I'll wrap up what some of those are at the end. Also,
yeah, but before you jump off the renewal topic, that's a big piece. I mean, I was just listening to a Harvard Business Review podcast this morning, and so I don't have the title of that, but if you look at their website, I'm sure you'll find it. But it's important, and a little bit. It talked a little bit about this renewal concept and how important it is in reinventing your business for success in the future. And just to take this nature metaphor a little bit further, I mean, as we in the old environment or pre-pandemic, I mean, you can imagine the forest growing, and a lot of forests are overgrown right now, where the canopy is just completely clogged, and those new ideas or those new growth doesn't have the opportunity to get that sunlight to grow and flourish. And so with the forest fire, as you can say, I mean, that canopy is all gone, and we have a chance to grow our business in this new environment, where we can think about what it was really needed today, and we've removed a lot of the clutter, and we need to get more efficient, and what is necessary to be successful in the future. And so we need to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I really had to remember that and think about it, because if I would have got caught up in that state of fear, unrest, anxiety, and worry, my team would notice that. So we really needed to talk about innovation and progressiveness and how we can get in this space. And being very transparent, not my entire team is really on board with this, which caused a lot of unrest in my company, because some people thought we were going to go back to the way we were. And I'm more the strategist vision kind of person. And I was like, no, we are not going to go back to the way we were.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, this is a time where we're retooling, management training, mentoring, all those things as far as development are critically important right now, because the landscape has shifted, it has changed, and we're operating in a new environment, and we need to think about investing in those areas of development. It's critically important. So
this was great timing too, because again, if I want to remind you, we had Andre Bloom here that was going to be our keynote speaker at Denver University. And we had a huge seminar planned, and the challenge is that how do we recreate how we coach, mentor, look at our competencies, capabilities? How do we evaluate what we're going to do as a company? And by the way, we have this is also a free tool, which we'll mention here at the end. I took advantage of this with my company, because I had to think about traditional performance management processes of doing a performance evaluation or a 90-day evaluation or having these specific goals. Those conversations were not being real relevant to the time of leading with compassion, dignity, and respect. So I really started digging into taking advantage of some of these tools and have my team that was still with us take the TMA assessment. And what was absolutely beautiful that has been turned out to be awesome is that I was able to download brand new competencies around the type of talent and capabilities and skill sets needed in my team. We had an awareness, thanks to some of what Andre and his team taught us, is that maybe we needed to reposition or do career mobility with some of my team members. So for example, one gentleman didn't like sales. He was not comfortable talking to people coming down the mall. I had to really evaluate what he was good at. And he actually was really good at recruiting. So guess what? Today he's a recruiter. So giving him his assessment has helped me in that conversation to retool, to refocus. Yeah. And he can do that virtually. You can recruit from, if you're a drummer and driving down the road with a bunch of band guys, you could still do recruitment off your phone. So, all right.
That's right. So let me clarify a little bit more. So what Andre, he's the founder of the TMA method, which is a talent assessment tool. It's an assessment of what determines your preferences, which you're good at, which you can develop at, and so forth like this. And we're really interested in this tool because of this shifting environment. And another quick story, my wife is a teacher, and of course, when the schools were closed and everything turned into remote learning, she was forced to do really a new job. I mean, she was used to that face-to-face teaching and helping students thrive in person, and now she was faced with doing this remotely, and it was a big shift for her. I mean, first of all, she wasn't trained in any kind of remote education. I mean, it just wasn't part of the teacher training at that point, and so it was a big shift. And as she was working at home, I mean, she just didn't have the same passion for it as working with students face to face. I mean, a lot of times kids didn't know how to engage in that environment either. So the question remains for a lot of the workforce that has had their job shift significantly. Are they really going to be happy with the way that new work is being done? Or is there something else that they should be considering, another job, or should we move them to another place where they're going to be happier? So that's some of what this TMA method can do. It can help us identify those work preferences and really put people where they thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And here I thought I was so good at these types of HR practices. My mindset about this and really utilizing this tool and having those open and honest dialogues where I spend at least 80% of my time listening, which is another thing we talk about. I actually had to work on it myself because I have a tendency to talk a lot. So, just shut my mouth, really listen about the concerns of my team. And this is where I call it HR with a heart. I mean, that's my little tagline. When I left a corporate job, I was very much about having HR with a heart and compassion. And even now, employees demand this. Employees want to see their leaders that are compassionate and care about their well-being relative to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you taking care of my health, my safety, my psychological wellness? What are you doing to help me? And I had to remember that even though we weren't, quote, open, and a lot of us were sitting at home, I had to be that example, like what Julie talked about. I had to be that efficiency, productivity example and continue having the Zoom calls, the conversations, the one-on-ones. I look back, I probably disappeared for a little bit because I was probably going, oh my gosh. But to really keep those going along. The other thing is going to May 13th, as we're looking at this journey, I loved what Krista Resnick talked about of shifting energy from catabolic to anabolic in times of COVID recovery. And I think I also analyzed my personal behavior, having a lot of anxiety, having a lot of stress, not eating like I should, which by the way affected my health. And I am happy to say I am now eating my blueberries and drinking my water.
So, yeah, good.
But I wasn't eating enough and not really thinking about the fear and anxiety and not really going about unlimited potential. So that's a great discussion. And then Gary Barnes was awesome, talking about creativity through adversity and being visible and seen and doing things to be that role model and example. So as a leader, we need to do this. And that's why I love doing these forums with Sam and team and Lisa and Sumit, and I could go on, the whole team. It's been absolutely great because we realized that we needed to transform our talent management strategy and make something very different moving forward. So we've really spent time talking about coaching workforce and recruiting processes. And I'm happy to say, I'm gonna now get to the more happy side. I'm happy to say in the last couple of weeks, our mall started opening. And what was interesting is that we had a staff meeting and I realized I needed to be very different as far as, hi, I need to give an HR update. Here's the policies, read your handbook, very traditional ways of what I talk about. To now let's talk about how can we help you be the most successful and the most productive in what you do? How can we help you wake up in the morning and feel excited, ambitious, motivated to come into Rocky Mountain Health Advocates and take care of our community and take care of our clients? And if you really don't think this is a good fit for you, let's talk about it. It doesn't mean that you just need to, be fired or walk out the door. We want to have open, honest dialogue about your fit within our organization, and let's utilize this tool. I actually printed off the competency aspects. And we sat down as a team and I said, now our one-on-one is going to be about coaching and mentoring for your success. I want you to love working here. We only have, our employees only work around 25 hours a week, and they actually can make full-time pay. By the way, we have 2 positions open right now. But utilizing those, if you know of anyone, but utilizing that tool, the TMA method, has really made more robust conversations with my employees. And I got such a positive reaction. It was like the culture was very different. It was like it felt different. Although we're in our masks and everything else, but we were just more candid and heartfelt conversation. And one of our executive leaders came to the meeting, and he said to me 2 days ago, he goes, something is very different about the team. And I think it's just the nature of how we're leading. So that has been such a very positive thing. And then
just
also,
a real quick comment on that. I mean, that's we've been talking about for the past several weeks, the move towards more humanism. And I think that we can see that in our society and what's going on right now. I mean, before the pandemic, we were looking about, okay, how can we advance in the career? How can we get the things that we need from our employer, or the things that or the cool environment, or the nice workplace, or the perks, or the compensation, and so forth. And now people are really, through this pandemic, have been thinking about, well, I want to be treated, I want to be communicated as an equal or a peer, and I want to be empowered, and I want to be heard and have impact. And we're seeing that in our society as well with this unrest. We want to be treated fairly, and we need to be thinking about our futures and how we can grow and have equality and so forth. So there's a bit of a shift to more humanism in today's work environment. So be aware of that.
And these are,
I think that was always there, Sam, as a desire. I just wanted to say that I think that what Char is talking about, with the culture change work I've done for 22 years, the people always wanted that. And I think that what's shifted is that leaders now, the demand is now happening. It's like, if you think of supply and demand, that the workforce is demanding it, and that is your supply of people who are going to actually implement your strategy and implement your goals. And so I do think that there's a lot more momentum, but I just wanted to, I don't think that the millennials want anything we didn't want. It's just that now it's much more of a demand, and it's much more of you're not going to be able to be successful attracting talent and retaining great people without that. So kudos to you, Char, for taking such leadership on that. And I would love to hear, just before you move to your next point, just about when you say it changed our culture, the team felt different. What do you have a way, like a couple things that you could bookmark that you could just share to talk with the team about? This is the team culture that we have built. This is the team culture that I want us to support. A couple of words for them, because I've seen that in the culture work I do, that when you boil it down to something simple like that people go, this is our culture, and they name it. It really helps people to uphold those values.
Well, absolutely. A lot of our meetings were where the 3 executive leaders would stand up and kind of go through their spiel and talk about their lab testing and the changes, and very kind of pragmatic types of dialogue. The conversation now has changed to, you are the owner of your own business, and we want you to succeed, and we want you to succeed in your future, and we want to help you get there. How can we do that? How can we do a better job? And let's open the dialogue, and let's be candid with one another. So the culture was different in that regards, and also the type of person that we want to bring in. We want to be health advocates, because before it might have been like a sales job. You're going to sell a genetic test. Well, really it's covered by insurance, but that's another, Medicaid predominantly. But now it's like, we are advocates because our community needs to increase their immune systems to really keep healthy, keep their families healthy. And how can we advocate for you, community, client, to take care of your health, disinfect your homes, have affordable health care. There's a demand for that. So our employees are very ambitious and very heartfelt. And the people that we're hiring not are just clinical people, but are like passionate about nutrition and well-being. And so that whole values mindset about really helping the community has shifted.
That's huge. That's really huge. So make sure you capture some of those words when you're recruiting, you know, to talk about this is the kind of culture that we're building, because what you're saying is the way that culture really is built, but by choosing consciously people who actually are attracted to that specific kind of culture. So it's,
yes,
that's
and
really
what's
powerful.
awesome though is the TMA method has a great app and tools that we can share with you. We're literally going into some of the things we do differently with recruiting. It actually provides suggested interview questions that are relative to your core competencies required for the company.
Cool.
So the way that we're recruiting is also relative to that. I mean, is this person paying attention to detail? Is this person like sociability? And not just hiring somebody to fill a slot, but really being very thoughtful in the process. We revamped our entire hiring processes. So now, remember the gentleman that's now one of our recruiters and administrators, I've been teaching him how to use these tools so that we have more meaningful in how we select and hire. And then now you'll notice here, Brian O'Neill talked about development and how we can adapt to the future and normal. And again, this tool has provided awesome developmental recommendations at the tactical, operational, strategic, depending on the type of position it is, has been very, very helpful to really talk about that. So we're very transparent with our employees about thinking about their future ongoing development. So we, just to kind of buzz along here, we have had discussions about the traditional employee engagement processes, but again, engagement is something different. And Lisa, this is your cup of tea, right? About how we're thinking about employee engagement. And, you know, when you say what looked different in the culture, instead of having people sitting in the meeting with their arms crossed, rolling their eyes, coming in 20 minutes later, forgetting about the meeting altogether, we aren't tolerating that anymore. That level of all of us have accountability, and we all are focused on our engagement. And if
Yes,
it doesn't,
now everybody's watching Netflix on their phone during the meeting.
yeah. Yeah, well, we were putting up with some behaviors that were not really showing engagement, nor were we as an organization. I'm not saying we were bad, it's just we had some room for improvement in that space. And I know we only have about 9 more minutes left, so I just wanted to kind of also, you know, we talked about the virtual work environment, creating those opportunities, and we had Aaron back. Oh, I also want to mention Sumit, who is also one of our panelists today. He was talking about the employee value proposition, which, by the way, I realized, wow, we need to create that. So we have some great tools.
That was a really good one, yeah. Yeah,
how do we create a cohesive team? Now, as we get closer to today in my journey, Dr. Dina Samuels started talking with us about, and Linda talked about diversity and social cohesion. And obviously this is when the racial unrest really had hit. And I had employees in fact, I'll just be candid, one of my mall locations had some riots and things going on. I won't say which one, you could probably guess. My employees, a couple of them were fearful because they didn't want to go to work. And then after the rally next to the police station, those individuals come into the mall. My business partner, Bruce, and Adam actually went in to work that shift that day. And that's not something what they typically would do, but to show our employees that we care about your safety and your psychological well-being. So making those kind of decisions, even though it may have impacted our productivity and numbers for that day, was something that we now have to think about. And then obviously Julie's been back today. So I'd like to just quickly mention, and wrapping up just on my topic, this is my company, Rocky Mountain Health Advocates. Some of the products that we've now built into our company is, one, we now have a bioscanner, so how people can take care of their supplements. Oh, here's my supplements and my water and my exercise. And we just started really having to shift about the kind of products that we have. We also have affordable healthcare products. We have a disinfectant, And we have also offered what we call healthy employer coaching. And so again, it's been a major transformation for us. Mm-hmm. And I just recommend, if you're a business leader, an owner, even an entrepreneur, and you're navigating through these periods, please take advantage of the poll, and please take advantage of our one-on-ones with you, because I think we could really be a thought partner in whatever topic that I shared with you today, be it legal, employee engagement, crisis communication, how to deal with the social unrest and anxiety. We have a great group of amazing, talented professionals that are here to support you. And I also recommend you truly take care of those, do those gifts, take advantage of those, because I think all of them are still relevant. So yeah, that's my journey. And so thank you so much. It's been such an honor to work with this team. And we plan to continue these forums. And guess what? I'm sorry. I don't know if I haven't seen the Hornets come yet, the killer Hornets, but you never know. I mean, I hate to say it, there might be something else that we're going to.
That's right. Wasn't that funny? What was it? Like a month ago, they had those, what was it? The Asian Hornet or something like that. The ones that are like 3 inches long. You got to love the media. They just you got to bring up the next cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, and that's what I love about these forums, because it's very relevant and timely for today. So when those types of topics come up as a business leader, even though I've been participating and enjoying all these presentations, I suggest you go back and listen to these and take advantage of the tools. It's a big, big help. In fact, some of them I need to go back. I was preparing for this conversation and I was going back through some of these presentations going, oh, I don't have an employee value proposition. Oh, I didn't get my business continuity plan on paper. So it was like, man, I got to add those to my to-do list. So I'm going to use Julie's tool to add to my to-do list and get those things achieved, and then be better at how I communicate with my employees. And they have said to me, and I'm not bragging, they've said, you're one of the best leaders and best employers that I have worked with. I'm not perfect, but I've been being told that. And I said, you know what? We're going to lead the way. We're going to offer these tools and TMA and things that you've never seen before. So let's just create a healthy employer and reopen healthily.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's what we're trying to deliver here. And that's the reason why we have Julie on today, is trying to be extremely timely with the solutions that we're talking about. I mean, right now with people getting back to work and also being faced with potential a next phase of this virus, I mean, it's more important than ever to be prioritizing and thinking about how we're going to approach the workplace and so forth, and moving forward. So really important. So thank you, Julie, for all the wise words today.
Yeah, and thank you, Lisa, for championing in there with us along the path, and Sumit and team. So as we're wrapping up to today, I just want to give some logistical things. Again, take advantage of that poll. Take advantage of the chat. What we're going to do is really focus on following up with our speakers participants. So if you haven't heard from us for some reason, just send us a quick reminder, and you'll see here, this is Sam's email. He'll disseminate, so you have one email to all of us. And by the way, just want to mention our gift again. So we're offering this free gift. It's a complimentary TMA Comp Team tool, and it's super cool. In fact, this afternoon, I'm doing 2 interviews with a couple of my leaders. I'm talking about, it's literally, what is it? How many pages is this? It's like 8 pages long.
Oh yeah, it's pretty robust, but there's a lot of pieces in here. It shows as far as your work preferences, a little bit about your behaviors, your desired behaviors, so forth, and it can really give a lot of understanding of how's the best way to develop, what are your preferred ways, and you can learn this about your employees as well. It'll create a great dialogue. Just it's kind of an interview process. It gives you the ability to talk and understand the levels and where your employee wants to grow in their career and so forth. It creates a great dialogue for coaching and development.
Yeah, and the app, the app that this company has provided is super awesome. You can ask us about that. And for one quick example, is my director on hers showed that she likes attention to detail. She likes organization. She likes structure. What guess what I'm like? I'm Miss, strategy all over the board, vision, creativity. So I had to really learn how to be a different leader for her. And she is just ecstatic and doing a great job. So you can really apply this free tool. We really hope you take advantage of it. So
and for anybody that you can just go ahead and pull up that poll, and there's you just click on the free TMA assessment there, and then we'll send you the invite. And then make sure you follow up, because sometimes this will land in your I don't know, your spam folder or whatever. So be looking for that. We'll reach out, make sure you get it.
Yeah, and please like, share on LinkedIn these events and CompTeam.net website. This will help your colleagues, be a great resource for you. So we would love to have you part of our tribe and our community. And so thank you so much. Any final comments?
I really enjoyed everybody's time today. Thank you, Julie, once again.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. You all take care. Be safe.
All right, be safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.